So two things I'd like us to do. One of them we might be able to achieve if we are fast enough. We might be able to do the other. They are actually easy ideas. One of them is bearing. I don't know if we have done that in Form 2. If this is your first time hearing the term bearing, please raise your hand. Okay, so I'm just going to start from the start. It's kind of hot. I suggest you remove your jacket. Okay. If anyone is putting on a jacket, please take it off because of the heat. Thank you. All right. Now, what do we mean by bearing? Is if you have seen movies that has to do with maybe pilot trying to navigate to a particular location, they are not going to talk like you and I talk when we're on the ground. They're not going to say, oh, 2 kilometer turn left or 2 kilometer turn right. Rather, you're going to hear something like bearing 0 something degrees. Even sailors, when trying to navigate the ship on the sea. Has anybody noticed that? You hear some of those terminologies in terms of bearing 0 to 0 degrees, something like that in a movie. Anyone raise your hand if you've heard of that before? Okay, all right. So that's the idea we are trying to do. Of course, because when you are on the sea, how do you know where you are? Like, it's so huge. You can't really say, oh, if I continue to operate my ship or navigate everything to this direction, oh, I'm going to get to Macau. You can never say. You might end up finding yourself in Nigeria. So you really have to know how the coordinates system works when it comes to the globe. And to do that, the idea of bearing, which is like an angular measure really. So your ship is here. You have to be able to know how do you move. Do you want to move like this and go straight? Because if you deviate maybe even 1 degree, you might just find yourself in maybe Macau instead of Hong Kong, which is not a walking distance. Do you understand? Of course, when you move when you just move as a very short distance from the position here, and maybe you mistakenly move bearing 120 instead of bearing 121. Now this 1 degree may not really make any difference if the distance is short. Maybe you will find yourself in Koloan instead of Macau side. That's still something you can take a taxi, right? But if before you knew that you are on the wrong course, on the wrong bearing, you have probably moved 7,000 miles, you might just find yourself in 2 different countries. Maybe even get arrested. Maybe because you are not supposed to even go there without clearance. Not knowing it was just a mistake of 1 degree on the wrong course. Do you understand? So bearing, the idea of bearing is how the pilots and the sailors navigate their ways either on air or on the sea, really. And what we are trying to do is just to introduce the idea to ourselves. Just introduction. We are not required to do complex calculations. That might be Form 4. There's a class going on, guys. Thank you very much. We appreciate your silence. Thank you. So, the idea is just to know how to manipulate this turning, because they're going to have to turn through a particular angle. Understand? So, how to navigate that turning. You might have seen a lot of maybe Mayday movies, like someone is trying to land, emergency landing to an airport, then they communicate with the airport and they tell them you can, maybe move 0 something degree bearing, and because they cannot see anywhere, they have to rely on these guidance. Thank you, Mr. Zam. It's not working like that. Why are you guys like this? They have to rely on this guidance. Can you please ignore what Mr. Zam is doing and focus on me? Thank you. They have to rely on this guidance to be able to know where they are going. Because it's not like, oh, when you get to the blue building, you turn right, you can't see anything. Just a bunch of cloud, or just water that looks endless, like it doesn't have any ending. That's all they can work with. But with the satellites in the space, every point on the globe has a particular coordinate. Understand? Every point on the globe. That is why even the military are able to send missiles to some places without actually, the missile might just come through Macau. Maybe it's meant to go to another place X, but you never feel the impact here. Because the missile will have been instructed, the specific location will have been, locked to the system, and it will never change. Okay? So the idea of coordinate the bearing, also another concept is the longitude and latitude, which is not in your own syllabus, by the way. Is how some of these things are navigated and operated. Let's hope this works. But in the meantime,
okay, I know the problem now.
Will it work now or not?
Cannot, because the aircon also is not working.
That's why.
This is the power is.
It's okay. I'll just use it temporarily because we don't have time.
Okay, thank you.
So what we want to do now is try to understand the idea of bearing. There are two types of bearing that will be discussed. I'm going to discuss both because my worksheet has to do with both. But from the past question that I've seen, only one of them is usually required. But the one that is usually required is the one that dominated the question anyway. It's just a 2-page worksheet. I think about 6 questions or so, I don't know. Now, the two types of bearing, maybe I'll give you the idea first, is the 3-figure bearing and compass bearing. Can you repeat after me? 3-figure bearing.
3-figure bearing.
Jenny, can you see this? Matthew, can you see what I'm writing because of this board, I guess? How about now? Okay. 3-figure bearing. And the second is compass bearing. Can you say that, please?
Compass bearing.
Now, for people that like to go camping in some forest, have you seen them holding something that points north, west, something like that? That's a compass, right? So when I say compass, I'm not referring to that guy we use in drawing circle alone. Okay? We're talking about that device that has 4 cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. Okay? So some sort of bearing are written in compass language. For example, somebody might say, oh, Manuela is flying a chopper on the bearing north 30 degrees west. That's the language of the compass. The language that involves north, south, east, and west. Am I making sense? The compass bearing begins with either the north or the south, followed by an angle less than 90 degrees, then followed by either east or west. The angle here must be less than 90 degrees. Nobody will ever say north 120 degree east. That doesn't make sense. The reason is this. This is the north, this is the east. This is the north, this is the west. When somebody says, oh, Manuela's bearing is north 30 degrees east, what it's saying is that from the north, Manuela turns through an angle of 30 degrees towards the east direction. You cannot say Manuela turn 120 degrees towards the east. Because even between the north and the east, there is a maximum of how many degrees?
90.
And we will never say Manuela turns north 90 degrees east. Rather, the statement will be Manuela traveled due east. Due east means Manuela is traveling on this straight line. Do you understand that? Oh, Kiana traveled due north. Matthew traveled due south. Okay? Oh, Mr. Daniel traveled due west. We go on that straight line. Sleepy, sleepy. Sleepy Corinne. Okay? But when the angle is less than 90, there is need to specify the starting point and in which direction. That's when you hear something like, oh, Tomasz is traveling on a bearing of south 45 degrees west. Which means, start from the south, Tomasz can be located 45 degrees, if you measure 45 degrees along the west. 45 degrees is just halfway. It means Tomasz is somewhere on this line. Any bearing that involves north, south, east, west is known as what type of bearing?
Compass
Compass bearing. And that's the easiest one actually, which is the one not popular in IGCSE, sorry. Okay? Now, this one, three-figure bearing. Do you know what part of speech is this? An adjective. It's telling us more about this noun. The short teacher. You're trying to describe, are you saying I'm short?
Yes.
Okay, that's okay. You can say that. So this is an adjective telling us more about this noun. Similarly, your adjective could be a compound word. It could be two-word adjective. For example, oh, we had a debate competition involving 8 6-man team. Well, to avoid, oh, why is it man? Why not a woman? Let's say 8 6-member teams. Usually, normally, if I say the teacher, does it make sense to say the teacher? Right? It makes sense. So when you say the short teacher, you're just adding more information. Maybe there are many teachers there. So what do you mean by the teacher? In fact, using the word the means there is only one, easily identifiable. You say the sun, the moon, the 9 planets. Because you can never find 2 suns, at least for now. Maybe they are still searching, who knows? The moon, only one moon. But you cannot say the students, because there are so many students. Okay? Unless you are giving us more information. Oh, the student who just came in from that country. Aha! Then it makes more sense. Do you understand that? So similarly, I could have said 8 teams participated in the debate. It will make sense. But I'm trying to give you more information about the teams. Oh, 8 6-member teams. So this is the adjective now, telling you every team consists of 6 members. And in that case, there is no S because it's an adjective. It's not a noun. You can't pluralize it. Do you understand? Similarly, this is saying 3-figure bearing. It means a bearing that involves, can you guess? 3 figures, 3 digits. So bearing like, oh, bearing 120 degrees, bearing 030 degrees. Rather than just say bearing 30 degrees, you say bearing 030 degrees. Okay? So bearings like this are called 3-figure bearings. How do we draw each of them? Is where we are going to start from. And it's simple. For this, you start from the north and you move from 0 to 360. That's it. For this, you start from either north or south. You move certain angle towards east or west. Very easy. Understand? So I'm going to write a short note describing each of them with maybe 4 examples. Understand? I will probably draw one of the example for each. The remaining 3 will be DIY among yourselves. Is that understood? Do we have an idea what I'm trying to do yet? Okay. Sorry about it. There's nothing we can do for now. This is what happening when technology, right? There's nothing we can do. These things happen. Okay, so let's begin with let's say types of bearing. Two types. These are the 2 types of bearing. So we start with the first one. Sorry. You can give yourself fan. That's the only opening, right? Those are the only two.
Yeah.
I think it's four, like outer and
Yeah,
outside.
if you-
So, do we close it? Is it better to close it? All right, please close that. If anybody has a special aircon, please bring it out now before anybody dies.
Do you have a air purifier over there?
All right, focus please. Compass bearing, let's start with that. This usually, okay, this is, okay, of the form north theta degrees east, or maybe south alpha degrees west. Okay, or should I say this consists of three parts? The first part is the north or south. Have you written this, please? I would like to rephrase this statement. Not yet, thank you. This type consists of three parts. Okay? The three parts are the north, south, followed by an acute angle. An acute angle is what angle?
Less
than 90.
Angle less than 90. Then ending with east or west. So AG, south 70 degrees west, north 15 degrees east, north 33 degrees west, south 80 degrees east. So this is what the compass bearing looks like. So to draw a compass bearing, you draw your four cardinal points. Do you know what I mean by four cardinal points? North, south, east, west, right? You draw your four cardinal points. You try to find where do you begin. You try to draw an angle, the acute angle, in the particular direction indicated, and you draw a straight line where the angle starts. And that's it. I'll give an example, no worry. Okay? So I'll put some examples here. AJ. No. Before then. Even I can feel the heat. That's a big problem.
This is random. Can you turn the
Wait.
I think it's back on. The kids were yelling downstairs.
Yes.
Is it not?
Oh my god. I can
Well,
feel
I
it.
felt something.
Oh, it is on, it is on.
I can feel it. Hey, move that. Move that.
It is on.
Okay, yeah, finally.
Wait, that might be working then.
Front projector. Okay. It is on. There's no need for it.
Juvino,
though.
Juvino, can you?
Okay,
Yeah.
this is working now.
It's all on.
Vino. I put it on 16 because it's so hot. And I put it, do you want me to put it back?
Around 19 or something.
19 is okay. Wait, that,
No.
yeah. I did that already. What's on?
Wind.
Okay, finally. Now,
You should
so to draw,
is for the compass bearing, is it 3 or 4 parts?
What do you mean?
The
Consists
type.
of 3 parts. Read what I wrote. What do you mean by 4 parts?
Oh, I thought you meant like north, east, south, west. When
Read what I wrote there.
yeah.
The north or south followed by an acute angle, then that. Okay, so to draw a compass bearing, one, start from north or south. Okay, measure, you don't have to measure actually. You just try to guess what the angle look like. So for example, if I start from here and it is not 70 east, you're not going to say this is not 70 east. If this is 70, are you saying the whole of this is 20 degrees? Do you get my point? Hello? Even though it's a sketch, but at least your sketch should be, meaningful. Measure or draw the acute angle in the east or west direction. So that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. So I'm going to put 4 different examples here, but I will only do maybe 2 of them. The remaining 2 will be DIY. Okay? Draw this. I'll just say draw these bearings. Let's say draw this bearing. First, let's say north 70 degrees east. Let's say second, north 50 degrees west. Everybody pay attention. North 70 degrees east. You start from your 4 cardinal point. Can we shut the door now maybe? Now that we have the AC. Can we see this part? We are still here.
Yeah, you can.
North 70 east. First thing, north, south, east, and west. Please, if you do not know what 4 cardinal points is, signify now. If this is your first time dealing with this, let us know. Has everybody done something like this or seen this before? North, south, east, west. Okay, great. So again, this is my north, this is my south, this is my east, and this is my west. To locate maybe someone on this bearing, or some place on this bearing, or maybe some moving object on this bearing, this is what you do. It says start from the north. That's the first part of the bearing. Start from the north. Okay? Move 70 degrees towards the east. You draw what you see. Don't try to imagine anything. Don't bring your imagination here. You draw what you are given. Math is not always about imagination. It's about what you see. Okay? Start from the north, 70 degrees towards the east. Because if you are moving east, you're already at 90. So we need only 70, an angular distance of 70. So if this is where my 70 is, all I need to do is draw the straight line. So if someone is on this bearing, that someone is on this line. Now depending on their distance from where I am, that determines where their location is. And all you have to do is just put 70 degrees here. Does this make sense? Similarly, north 50 west. Start from where? Move how many degrees? In the what direction? West. That's it. So 50 towards the west. So 50 is like halfway, kind of. And this is where your 50 is. That's all about compass bearing. How to draw it. Understand? That's right. So I want you to do this 3 and 4 yourself. draw that quickly and compare. Show your partner what you have done. Compare. So good.
Mr. Dyer,
Yes.
today we have arts drama.
Yes, so 50, right? So I leave you before then. Almost time. Okay, we have about 3 minutes, then I'll let you go. The class ends at 2:47, but I always like to release you at 2:45, so we have just 2 minutes. Okay, I'm just going to quickly draw the other one, then we can continue next time. Okay? Can I change the numbering? Let's call this A, because I already used 1, 2, 3, 4, so I've got confusion. And let's call this B. 3-figure bearing. Unfortunately, we will not be able to complete it. We'll complete it tomorrow. In this case, you start from knots. That knot is 0 degree and move in a clockwise direction. That's it. So we'll take some example. This guy usually consists of 3 digits. That's why we call it 3-figure bearing. So, take some example. 1. Bearing 049 degrees. 2. Bearing 295 degrees. Then you will do DIY. Bearing 099 degrees, and maybe number 4, bearing 213 degrees. Everybody stop because you have to go. Stop. So for 3-figure bearing, you always start from the knot. That's the difference between them. 3-figure, you always start from, because it says 049. It means with respect to the origin, with respect to 0. Understand? 0 is the origin. The origin in this case is your knot. This is your 0. So you go clockwise, 90, 180, 270, and back to 360, like that. Okay? You always start from here. You don't have to put 0, please. Some of you that like to just write unnecessary information, please, I don't want to see 0. This is just for explanation. So you start from the knot, 45 degrees, 49 degrees. This is where your 49 degree ends. That's it. The location you are looking for is somewhere on that line. Similarly, you start from the knot, 295 degree would be where? 1, 2, 3, or 4? 4, because it's more than 270. So here you have, go like that. Just 25 degree above 270, is that not? So it shouldn't be too close to the other ones. Do you understand? So where I'm looking for is somewhere on this line. That's how to draw bearing, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? We'll send this picture to Edmodo. Then we will be able to maybe do these 2 tomorrow together, in addition to something else that I want to do. Make sure you draw these 2 from home, please. Let's go for your drama. Yeah. This is 246. I'll give the worksheet, so no need to do it. Okay? So no need to do this today. Have you stopped that, sir?